Your soulmate has been standing in the shadows for longer than you realize, watching, waiting, believing that someday you would be ready to receive the love they've been holding sacred for you. But something just happened in the spiritual realm that changes everything. The angels are sounding an alarm right now, and what they're revealing will make your heart race because your soulmate's patience, that beautiful enduring patience they've maintained through every season of waiting, just reached its breaking point. This isn't about them giving up on you. This is about the universe finally releasing them to move toward you with a force and clarity they've never had before. In the next few minutes, you're going to understand exactly what shifted, why it happened now, and what you need to do in the next 72 hours to align yourself with this divine intersection that's about to transform your entire love story. Right now, heaven is orchestrating a convergence between two souls who have been prepared in separate fires, refined in different wildernesses, and are finally being positioned for the collision that will rewrite both of your destinies. If you're feeling an unexplainable restlessness in your spirit, if you've been waking up with someone on your mind that you can't quite name, if you felt a strange electricity in the atmosphere around you lately, you're not imagining things. You're picking up on the spiritual frequency of a shift that's already in motion. I want you to welcome every new soul to this sacred space we're creating together. And if the message you're hearing right now is resonating in a place deeper than logic can reach, do me a favor and subscribe to God's Message Today channel and activate those notifications, because what we're unpacking here isn't entertainment. It's revelation designed specifically for such a time as this in your life. The divine doesn't operate on human timelines, but when the appointed time arrives, everything moves with precision and power that will leave you breathless. Before we go any deeper, I need you to do something that will activate the spiritual principle of agreement between your faith and heaven's intentions. If you're ready to receive everything that's been prepared for you, if you're willing to step into this next chapter even though you don't have all the details figured out, type these 3 words in the comments right now. I receive. Don't just read them, don't just think them. Speak them into existence through your fingertips, because there's power in the declaration, power in the agreement, power in making your faith visible not just to others but to yourself. This isn't superstition. This is the ancient principle that Proverbs 18:21 teaches us when it says that death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Your words create atmosphere. Your declarations build bridges between the invisible and the visible. So go ahead right now, pause for 5 seconds and type "I receive" in the comments, because what's about to unfold in your life requires your participation, not just your observation. Your soulmate isn't who you think they are, and that's actually the most beautiful part of this entire story. You've probably created a mental image over the years, a composite sketch assembled from past disappointments and future hopes, from movie scripts and love songs, from the relationships you've observed and the ones you've survived. But heaven has been working on someone in secret, preparing them in ways you never thought to pray for, equipping them with strengths you didn't know you needed, refining their character in fires you'll never have to witness because they went through it so you wouldn't have to. While you were becoming who you needed to be, they were simultaneously being transformed into who they needed to be, and the timing of these 2 parallel journeys reaching completion at the same moment is not coincidence, it's divine precision. What the angels are revealing right now is that your soulmate has been operating in a season of what I call consecrated patience. This hasn't been passive waiting. This has been active preparation. They've been praying for you before they knew your name. They've been turning down counterfeits because their spirit could discern that those connections weren't you. They've been in their own wilderness, their own process of becoming, their own death and resurrection cycle that prepared them to recognize you when you finally appear. And here's what most people don't understand about this kind of patience. It's not unlimited. It's not meant to last forever. There's a sacred tension between trusting divine timing and stepping into divine alignment, and your soulmate just reached the point where heaven said, "The waiting has accomplished its purpose. Now it's time to move." The patience snapping isn't about frustration or giving up. It's about spiritual activation. Think of it like a bow that's been pulled back, held in tension, storing up potential energy. The longer it's held, the more force builds up behind the arrow. When that bowstring is finally released, the arrow doesn't drift lazily toward the target. It explodes forward with all the accumulated power of the waiting season. That's what's happening right now in the spiritual realm concerning your soulmate. Everything they've been holding, all the hope they've protected, all the faith they've maintained, all the love they've kept pure and ready, it's all being released in your direction with an intensity and focus that cannot be stopped by human interference or delayed by spiritual opposition. Isaiah 43:19 is becoming manifest in your story right now, and I want you to hear these words not as ancient text but as present reality. "Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert." The wilderness season is ending. The desert of loneliness and confusion and wondering if love would ever find you, it's about to become a place where rivers flow. Not a trickle, not a stream. Rivers. Abundant, life-giving, overwhelming evidence that God hasn't forgotten you, and that every prayer you prayed in the darkness was heard, recorded, and answered even when you couldn't see any evidence of response. Your soulmate's patience snapping is actually triggering a series of supernatural dominoes that you need to understand, because your cooperation with what's unfolding will determine how smoothly this transition happens. When heaven decides to shift something, it doesn't just affect the spiritual realm. It begins rearranging the natural realm to match the spiritual decree. That means people are about to be moved. Situations are about to change. Doors you stopped knocking on are about to swing open without you touching them. Connections you thought were dead are about to resurrect with new meaning and purpose. Your soulmate is being positioned, but so are you. You're both being moved into proximity, into alignment, into the right place at the right time. And it's going to feel both exhilarating and terrifying, because real love always requires us to risk, to trust, to step out of the boat and walk on water even when the waves are high. Let me tell you what's been happening in the spiritual realm that you couldn't see. Your soulmate has been in warfare. Not against you, but for you. They've been fighting battles in prayer, resisting temptations that would have disqualified them from being the person you need, making hard choices that cost them temporary comfort because they were protecting something eternal. Hebrews 13:4 tells us that marriage is honorable among all, and the bed undefiled, and this isn't just about physical purity, although that matters. This is about emotional purity, spiritual purity, intentional purity. Your soulmate has been guarding their heart in ways that you'll only understand when you look back years from now and realize how many bullets they took that never reached you. How many storms they weathered alone, so that when they finally stood before you, they were whole, healed, and ready. The enemy has been working overtime to prevent this connection, because he knows what you two will become together. He knows the children you'll raise, the prayers you'll pray, the lives you'll impact, the kingdom assignments you'll fulfill when you're operating in unity. That's why the warfare has been so intense. That's why the waiting felt so long. That's why there were so many false starts and near misses and almost that never quite materialized. But here's what the enemy didn't count on. Every attack he launched actually made both of you stronger. Every delay gave you more time to heal from wounds that would have infected your future. Every disappointment refined your discernment, so you'll recognize the real thing when it shows up. The warfare wasn't a sign that something was wrong. It was confirmation that something incredibly right was being protected and prepared. Matthew 6:33 contains the secret that your soulmate has been living by, probably without even fully realizing it. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you. They've been seeking first, not seeking you, not seeking relationship, not seeking marriage, seeking first the kingdom, and in that pursuit they became exactly who you need them to be. They developed the character, they built the faith, they learned the lessons, they conquered the giants. And now, as a result of seeking first what matters most, you're about to be added to their life, not as the main thing, but as the beautiful reward of making God the main thing. This matters because it means your relationship won't be built on need or desperation or trying to fill a void. It will be built on overflow, on abundance, on two whole people coming together to create something greater than either of them could accomplish alone. Right now, if you've been feeling this message in your spirit, I want you to do something practical that might seem small but carries enormous spiritual weight. Hit that like button on this video. I know that sounds like typical YouTube stuff, but here's why it actually matters. When you like this video, you're not just helping an algorithm. You're making a declaration. You're saying yes to what heaven is doing. You're agreeing with the message. You're creating a point of contact between your faith and God's promises. It's the same principle as when people touched the hem of Jesus's garment. The touch didn't contain magic, it contained agreement. It was a physical expression of spiritual faith. So go ahead, press that like button right now, and as you do, speak over yourself, I am aligned with divine timing. I am ready to receive. I am open to the love that's been prepared for me. Here's what's about to shift in the next few weeks, and I need you to pay close attention, because recognizing these signs will help you navigate what's coming. First, you're going to experience what I call divine restlessness. This is different from anxiety or worry. This is a holy discomfort with where you are, because your spirit knows you're about to be relocated, not necessarily physically, although that might happen too, but relationally, emotionally, spiritually. You're going to feel like you're outgrowing things that used to fit. Conversations that used to satisfy you will start feeling empty. Spaces you used to occupy comfortably will start feeling too small. This isn't you being ungrateful. This is you being prepared for expansion. Second, you're going to notice an increase in divine appointments. These are encounters that seem random but are actually orchestrated. You're going to run into people you haven't seen in years who have a piece of information you need. You're going to receive invitations to events that feel slightly outside your normal routine, and those events are going to position you in proximity to your next season. You're going to have conversations that seem casual but are actually download sessions where heaven is giving you instructions disguised as small talk. Stay alert. Stay available. Don't dismiss anything as coincidence right now, because God is moving chess pieces on a board you can't fully see yet. Third, you're going to experience what feels like accelerated closure. Things that have been dragging on for months or years are suddenly going to resolve. Decisions that felt impossible are suddenly going to become clear. Relationships that needed to end but you couldn't quite release are suddenly going to complete their cycle without the drama you expected. This is heaven clearing the deck. God is removing what needs to go so there's space for what needs to come. Don't fight the closure. Don't try to resurrect what's being buried. Trust that what's leaving is making room for what you've been asking for. Ecclesiastes 3:11 promises us that God has made everything beautiful in its time, and your time is now. Not next year, not when you lose the weight or get the promotion or fix all your issues. Now, with your imperfections, with your history, with your scars and your questions and your fears, you are ready right now, because readiness isn't about perfection, it's about availability. It's about being willing to show up as you are and trust that the one who's been prepared for you will see your beauty not despite your flaws but within your wholeness, which includes both your strengths and your struggles. Your soulmate is about to move toward you with a clarity they've never had before, and this is going to look different than you expected. They're not going to show up tentative or unsure or playing games. They're going to show up direct, intentional, and clear about what they want. This might actually intimidate you at first because you're not used to someone knowing exactly who you are and choosing you anyway. You're used to having to convince people or prove your worth or manage their uncertainty. But this is different. Your soulmate has been watching, praying, preparing, and when they step into your life, they're going to do it with the confidence of someone who heard from God and is obeying what they heard. Proverbs 8:22 declares that he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord, and whether you're male or female, the principle applies. When you find your covenant partner, you're not just finding a person. You're finding favor, you're finding grace, you're finding acceleration, you're finding blessing that extends beyond the relationship into every area of your life. This is why the enemy fights so hard to prevent these connections. He knows that when two people come together under divine assignment, they don't just add to each other, they multiply, they exponentially increase in effectiveness, influence, and impact. Shift that's happening isn't just about you finally meeting someone. It's about two assignments coming into alignment. It's about two purposes that have been running on parallel tracks finally intersecting to create a unified mission. Your soulmate has their own calling, their own gifting, their own territory they're meant to impact, and it's different from yours but complementary to yours. When you come together, you're going to discover that you fit in ways you didn't know were possible. Where you're weak, they're strong. Where they struggle, you excel. What drains you gives them energy. What exhausts them fills your tank. This isn't coincidence. This is divine design. I want to talk about something that might be uncomfortable but is absolutely essential. You need to deal with your past before your future arrives. Not perfectly, not completely, but honestly. If you're still carrying bitterness from previous relationships, it's going to poison what's trying to grow. If you're still comparing everyone to someone who hurt you, you're going to miss the blessing standing in front of you. If you're still operating from wounds instead of from wholeness, you're going to attract from that place and sabotage what you're asking for. Psalm 147:3 reminds us that he heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds, but healing requires your participation. It requires you to stop picking at the scab. It requires you to forgive even when they never apologized. It requires you to release even when you didn't get closure. The work you do now in healing determines the health of what you build later in love. Let me be very clear about something because I don't want you to misunderstand what this message is saying. Your soulmate's patience snapping doesn't mean they're going to magically appear at your door tomorrow morning. What it means is that the spiritual mechanism that releases you toward each other has been activated. Think of it like a rocket launch. There's a countdown that happens before liftoff. 10, 9, 8. Each number represents something being checked, verified, aligned. And then there's ignition. That's where you are right now. Ignition. The countdown is complete. The launch sequence has begun, but there's still a process between ignition and orbit. There's still atmospheric resistance to push through. There are still stages that have to separate at the right time. Your job isn't to force the process. Your job is to stay on course, maintain faith, and trust the engineers who designed the mission. Romans 8:28 isn't just a nice verse to put on a coffee mug. It's a spiritual law. And we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are the called according to his purpose. All things, not just the good things, not just the easy things, all things. The heartbreak you survived, the betrayal you endured, the loneliness you walked through, the mistakes you made, the time you feel like you wasted. All of it has been working together, creating a tapestry that you couldn't see from ground level but looks absolutely perfect from heaven's perspective. Your soulmate's story has all things working together too. Their pain, their process, their perseverance. And now both tapestries are being joined together to create something even more beautiful than either one alone. Here's a question you need to ask yourself, and I want you to answer it honestly. Are you actually ready for what you say you want? Because there's a difference between wanting something and being ready to receive it, steward it, protect it, nurture it, fight for it when it's challenged, and build with it when it arrives. Most people think they're ready for love, but what they're actually ready for is the feeling of love. They're ready for the butterflies and the attention and the romance and the validation. But real covenant love requires capacity that only comes through character development. It requires communication skills that only come through self-awareness. It requires conflict resolution abilities that only come through personal healing. It requires sacrifice, compromise, patience, grace, and 100 other muscles that you only develop through the very process you've been walking through. Your soulmate's patient snapping is heaven's way of saying you're both finally ready. You've both done enough work, you've both healed enough wounds, you've both learned enough lessons, you've both developed enough character. The preparation season is complete and now it's time for the manifestation season to begin. But hear me clearly, manifestation doesn't mean easy. It means different. It means you're transitioning from one kind of challenge to another kind of opportunity. You're moving from the wilderness of waiting to the responsibility of stewardship. Song of Solomon 2:10-11 paints a picture that's about to become your reality. My beloved spoke and said to me, "Rise up, my love, my fair one, and come away. For lo, the winter is past, the rain is over and gone. Your winter is past, the season of barrenness and cold and dormancy, it's ending. The rain that soaked you that sometimes felt like it would never stop, it's over and gone. And now you're hearing the voice of the one who's been prepared for you saying, rise up, come away. Leave behind what was, step into what is. Don't let the memory of winter keep you in hiding when spring has already arrived." I need you to understand the spiritual mechanics of what happens when two people who have both been through their own process finally come together. It's not addition, it's multiplication. One can put 1,000 to flight, but two can put 10,000 to flight according to Deuteronomy 32:30. That's not 2,000, that's 10,000, that's exponential increase, that's synergy. That's what happens when God joins together what he's been preparing separately. The enemy knows this, which is why he's been fighting so hard to keep you separated. But his time is up. The restraining order has been lifted. The wall between you and your future is coming down, and nothing the enemy does now can stop what God has set in motion. Before we finish this message, I want you to do one more thing. Go down to the comments right now and type these 2 words, blessed and ready. Type it like you mean it because you need to hear yourself declare it. You need to see those words come from your own fingertips. You need to make that statement of faith not just to others but to yourself and to heaven. You are blessed not because everything has been perfect, but because you survived everything that tried to destroy you. You are ready not because you've figured everything out, but because you've learned how to trust God in the unknown. Blessed and ready, type it now. Everything we've talked about in these last 30 minutes comes down to one simple truth that I need you to engrave on your heart. God has not forgotten you. Your prayers have not gone unheard. Your tears have not been wasted. Your faithfulness has not been in vain. What you've been asking for, believing for, waiting for is closer than you think, and the shift happening right now in the spiritual realm is about to become visible in the natural realm. Your soulmate's patience just snapped, and that snap created a sound in heaven that released angels to begin arranging the final details of your divine appointment. You've been faithful in the waiting, now be faithful in the transition. You've been strong in the wilderness, now be wise in the promised land. You've been patient in the preparation, now be bold in the manifestation. Everything is about to shift because heaven just gave the command, and when heaven speaks, earth has to obey. Your soulmate is moving, the angels are working, the timeline is accelerating, and you, beloved child of God, are about to discover that the best really was being saved for last. Let me leave you with this final thought. Everything you've been through was preparing you for everything you're about to walk into. Don't waste time trying to figure out why it took so long. Instead, use your energy to get ready for how fast things are about to move. Share this message with someone who needs to hear it. Send it to that friend who's been in the waiting room with you. Post it where others who are believing for their divine connection can be encouraged. Come back to this channel because we're going to keep releasing messages that heaven is speaking over your life. Click that notification bell so you don't miss the next word that might be the exact key you need for the exact lock you're facing. And if what we're doing here has blessed you, if these messages are feeding your spirit and strengthening your faith, consider supporting this ministry with a super thanks donation. Your generosity helps us continue creating content that shifts atmospheres and releases hope into hearts that are hungry for truth. We don't take your support for granted. We steward it with honor, and we're grateful for every person who sows into this mission of spreading God's message today. Your soulmate's patience just snapped and everything is about to shift. Walk into this next chapter with your head up, your heart open, and your faith activated. The best is not behind you. It's standing at the door and it's about to knock. Be blessed, be ready, and be expectant. This is your moment. This is your time. This is your season. And heaven is about to confirm that you are exactly where you're supposed to be, receiving exactly what you've been prepared to steward. Go in peace, walk in power, and watch what God does when divine timing meets faithful obedience. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.